Yes, that's fine. Um, you're good, Darius? Okay. So thank you very much for this amazing evening of performance. And I think I'd like to start at the top and talk a little bit about sacred resistance. And I'd love for Patrisse to kind of share what that piece meant to her, building this piece, and the strength and the courage that you're talking about in that piece. So I'd like to just turn the mic over to Patrisse. And
hi, everybody.
Hello.
How's your throat feeling?
My allergies are really bad.
Hopefully that felt like a nice karaoke session. Really good to be here, and thank you all for welcoming us to this campus. We've been here all day, and we brought our children here as a field trip. We homeschool them, so it's been important for me as a parent to share a lot of my world with my children and to have them see what the art world looks like and what artist life looks like. I think some of us grow up in a culture where art isn't something that is tangible, you can have a career around, and so part of their education is knowing that they can truly do whatever they imagine is possible. And I think the earlier you expose children to all types of things, the more they see its tangibility. So I just wanted to share that. This piece actually happened, its conception happened in my living room when Ash and I were having one of our weekend karaoke sessions in my house. Usually that entails like playing Bjork and singing to the top of our lungs and crying and singing and processing. And that evening we were like, we have to do a performance to this song one day. And don't give me an idea, because I'm a follow through. And we first performed this at Lace's Abundance series last spring, almost 11 months ago. And during that time, the student campus protests were happening. And I came to Ash because Lace came to me to say, hey, do you want to be in the show? And I was like, do you want to do this Bjork piece? And it felt like, for me, I really needed to scream. And I need to scream even more now, given what's happening and what we're all witnessing. And this is truly a piece that is, I mean, it's all the things. I don't want to give it too much explanation because you saw it and witnessed it and experienced it. But for me as a performer, there are kind of very specific moments in my performance life where I have so much in me that it only can be expressed in this way. And so this performance is a deep reflection of like, what does it look like to resist in this way? There's many ways of resisting, and one of, you could be out in the streets resisting, you can refuse as a part of resistance. And I've been thinking a lot about the role of the sacred and the role of like the feminine and feminine rage, and what does that look like to tap into that and to not be afraid of expressing that. And a lot of my practice is endurance, clearly. We're on the floor for 13 minutes, and it sucks, but it's amazing. And repetition is a really important part of my practice, both like the fatigue, obviously, as us as performers, but also like audience members. I'm sure you had a growing fatigue, like, when is this gonna end? Like, are they gonna keep doing this to themselves? Why? And that feels important, that conversation, as a performer with the audience. Like, I know that is happening for you because it's happening for us. And I think lastly, oftentimes for me in my practice, when I'm thinking about like the aesthetics of rage, I am often thinking about like, how do we do that collectively? How do we express rage collectively? And so this was that. I'll also pass it to Ashley if she wants to add. Because we worked on this together.
We did. Patrisse is not lying. If you say you want to do something, she figures it out. Big Gemini energy. This is the fourth time I've ever done a performance like this. And just being affiliated with Patrisse, she has an idea and you say yes. But I think there's something really special in that process of sacred, this collective protection that comes along with collective rage. And I feel like that's something that the three of us have really put in this dynamic, and the familial sacred energy that has been kind of curated and conjured in our little triangle. And that feels like a really key part of this.
Thank you. That was beautiful to hear the description of that piece. I think I'd like to just ask one more question about the collaboration. And you say that you kind of worked it out together. I'm very fascinated by objects and how, because historically objects and performance is really what makes it work, and materiality. And so I'm kind of curious, how did you end up with this cord that connected you, and then the trust that you had to build with this object, right?
Well, Darius is my actual family. He's my cousin. And we used to live together, and he used to dance in my backyard, and I was like, oh man, he's gonna be one of my performances. He doesn't know it yet. And so I was like, cousin, you wanna perform with me? He was like, sure. And then we had bungee cords, and he was like, wait, what? I didn't know it was gonna be bungee cords. I went to Ash and I was like, bungee cords. She was like, what? And we were like, bungee cords. Because we are connected. And we often forget how deeply connected we are. Yeah. And nothing is more connecting than connecting yourselves with bungee cords and building that trust and building the endurance together. And nothing about that performance is a performance. Like, it's real screams, real sweat, real exhaustion. I think in the bungee cord of it all for us and for me was like, how do we stay connected even in conflict, even in struggle? How do we stay connected when it's really difficult? Actually, those are the times we need to be most connected, and to remember each other and to remember what this is together. And the kind of like center of it is us reminding each other when we're circling together inward, like looking at each other in each other's eyes, like I got you, we got each other, right? Okay, we're about to go back out into the world. Okay, how do we make sure everybody else knows, like this is a circle of protection? And that felt very important, and creating that. And I think the visualization too of those chords, because like there's moments where we're like pulling from each other, because that happens in life where you're like, I don't want this, I don't want to be disconnected, and then you're back at it again and you have to figure it out. And I think if we place a lot more value on our connections, the way we're connected as all living beings, not just human beings, but all living beings, we'd relate to each other a lot differently. It's the forgetting, it's the not remembering our sacred connection, in my opinion, that really impacts our ability to be fully whole individually, but also whole collectively.
I think that the trust, the question of trust is really interesting, and while they're blood family, I've been surrogate family for over a decade, and Patrisse is just one of the people I trust with my life. And so that was a very easy thing, but I think this has also been a practice of accountability, which I feel like we've been talking a lot about, and is in that relationship and same conversation of connection. And even, you know, you were at the first performance, and once we were invited to do this performance, that first performance was really hard for me. And they were throwing me around like a rag doll. And I literally, when we booked this performance, I was like, I'm getting in the gym, and I'm gonna like muscle up, and I'm gonna be rooted, and it was a full commitment to be better, accountable, and grounded to hold them. And so it's like a process that is beyond the performance, and I feel like that's something that is really important, particularly in like this collective practice. That's also just lessons that kind of get internalized when you're in collaboration with people that you really love and trust and care about.
Darius, do you want to add anything?
Oh, not too much. I'll say everything.
He put everything on the stage.
You get everything? Okay. This feels like a roadmap to the 21st century, quite frankly. So thank you so much. Really, very important for us to figure out how we can stay connected in these difficult times. And the first time I saw this piece, it was very, very moving, and fell in love with the process of movement without calculation, movement with trust, and movement with suspension, like literal suspension. Because I feel like our world is putting us in this state of suspension kind of frequently, and we feel like we're going to fall, and we're not. We're not. We have each other where we can find our net.
That's right.
And that's what I saw in this piece, literally. So I'm really glad that they were able to come here, recreate it, and do it. So now I'd like to have Simon talk a little bit about the open and what that meant for that collaboration, because that is a collaboration. And I'd like to, and this is the third iteration of the open. And so Simon has a philosophy behind it, which I'd like him to describe about radical juxtaposition, because I think that's a good contrast, radical juxtaposition, to what we're talking about in terms of connectivity. So it's kind of an interesting other side.
Okay. I want you to shout out if you want A or B. Okay? So anybody for A?
A.
Anybody for B?
B.
Thank you. This is from Professor Bruce Robbins, a quotation. There is no evidence that Cullors committed any illegal act. There is no evidence that he was arrested for anything other than expressing his political views. There is no evidence that the claims by the Trump administration and the pro-Israel lobby that Cullors ever supported Hamas are true. And would that have been an illegal act if he had? There is evidence, on the other hand, that Cullors has